Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Studio Live today in our special review of the WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference keynote, which happened just a mere 2 hours ago. If it's your first time here, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. If you want to jump straight into the content, go to the 4 minute mark. That's where we'll be able to jump in and give you an overview, because what we're going to do is I'm going to do a highlights, an overview of what's going on. We're going to then jump in and do a bit of a deep dive, and then I'll take some Q&A and some input and some insights from you, the Studio Live Today community. So yes, it did happen. 4 hours ago it started, 2 hours ago it finished. It was a long one, so I took one for the team. I watched the 2 hours live. It was at 2:30 a.m. for me here in Adelaide. So yeah, it was interesting. First time I've watched the whole thing live, and yeah, it was interesting. What I'm hoping to bring you here is all the info, but not necessarily all the hype, because yeah, it gets a little bit hyped up there with a lot of the stuff going on there. So this is what we'll be doing. I've got my iPad here ready to go. We're going to go through Apple's notes, because who better to give us the actual information than Apple themselves? So we've got that set up there. So yep, just a quick test run. We'll be able to go through and have a look at their lovely new memojis and things that are going on with that one. Hello to the folks who are here live. Good to have you here. Who have we got? We've got Peter Kim here. How you doing? I'm good. Hope you're doing well. Langston Reese was here early. Yes, underway in 2 minutes. We were ready to go. Anko, thank you for being here. We've got Metallion 58. Alex Backus is here. Who else did I see? Casey Fleet I saw here in the live chat as well. Cody Bradley. Alex Backus, I think I've said hello to you as I did as well. Apple did not announce the return of the headphone jack. I know. Denied. Who would have thought it? Josh Gates Music, hope you are doing well. DVG, we've got Nikit, hello to you. Jade Star is here in the live show. It's what they didn't announce around the entire restructuring of the new Mac Silicon. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in a moment. Shazam, hello to you, Shazam, the iPad producer, downloading iPad OS now. Do it, absolutely. You'll be able to run it on your Mac soon. There you go, a little bit of a hint. Uh, Medallion, salute your sacrifice. Yes, thank you. I'm an early riser anyway, so it wasn't actually that early for me. We've got Stu Cash, who is here. Jade Star stayed up and watched it. That's the difference between Jade and me. I got up early. I went to bed at 8:30 and got up at 2:30 to watch it. Jade's probably still been up from the night before. Hello, Gabby. Hello, David. And hello, another David. Good to have you all here and on board for this presentation. In 1 minute's time, we're going to jump in and get ourselves started. So let me just make sure that everything is set up here. I've got my notes. I can have a drink, because we've got a heap of info to get through in a hopefully short period of time. So again, the structure is going to be 10 minutes to the start, which is the overview. Then we're going to do a deep dive for about 20 minutes, and then we'll jump in, take some Q&A, some comments, and some insights from you, the viewing audience. So that should be a lot of fun. I still need a little sting to put on my mixer when I take a drink. That just I put the volume down. It goes, Pete is taking a drink. Something like that. Who else have we got here? Marcus Manderson dropping in. I'm sure you're interested in some of the stuff that went down here today, Marcus, as well. Jake, interested to hear if there's anything you've extracted as relevant for us iOS creators. Yeah, well, maybe. We'll talk about it in about 10 seconds. So let's jump in and get started with the actual content. Welcome to my review of the WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, where we've just learned what Apple have planned for iOS, macOS, watchOS, tvOS, and the other sort of OS. The keynote has just finished. It was 2 hours long, and I watched the 2 hours, but I'm going to break it down into some smaller bite-sized chunks, potentially without a lot of the hype that you might have seen in the actual keynote. So that's what we're going through here today. If it's your first time here, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live Today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And that is going to be the focus of this. So there's a lot of other places covering what was announced at the WWDC, which is the Worldwide Developers Conference. It's Apple's big update for developers, where they talk about mostly their software, but there are a few little bits of hardware news sprinkled in there as well. So in the next 10 minutes, we're going to go through the highlights, We're then going to jump in and do about a 20-minute deep dive where we're going to look at what is actually changing for creators. Is there anything of relevance? Is there anything new that you should be on the lookout for? And then we're going to jump in with some Q&A for the folks that are here live. If you're watching on the replay, though, welcome to the show, and I hope you enjoy it. Without any further ado, let's jump in and take a look. So I'm going to jump over to apple.com. This is where we can see all of the information now. You can jump over to there now yourself. Go to apple.com. You can watch the keynote, as you can see, by simply tapping right there on the keynote. Let's jump in and see what's actually new, though, because if we scroll on down, as well as all of these nice looking memojis, we get the news and the views here. So what did we get announced? Well, we've had the brand new iOS 14. So it's not called iPhone OS. It's still going to be iOS, which I thought might actually happen. I thought they'd go to iPhone. We've got iPad OS 14, Watch OS 7, and the entirely reimagined Mac OS called Big Sur. And yes, these are the updates to all of their operating systems. So iOS, first of all, what have we got? Well, we've gone too far. We've got redesigned widgets that show more information on your home screen. So these ones actually look pretty cool from a creator point of view. I'm not quite sure. I guess playing your music you're going to be able to have there. Don't know if music creation apps are really going to have a lot in the way of widgets, but it might help some of your workflow. And if you're like me and you're doing work for other people and things, you can at least keep on top of your calendar there on your home screen. And for me, I'm hoping there's a cool world clock widget, because working out what time it is in different parts of the world is one of the biggest challenges for me. This is one that I think is going to be cool for creators. The app library will automatically organize your apps. So instead of you going through and having to create your folders and do your thing, which I know many of us love to do, if, like me, you just get way too many apps, you do get this app library now, which is going to group together your apps in one place. So that could be interesting and easier for folks like me who have a lot of apps. And I know many of you creators using iOS have a lot of apps as well. Messages, well, there's some changes to messages. Conversations are easier to access. You got all your little pictures there of the people that you can message. Does that guy called Michael? He looks a bit like Steve Jobs. I got a little bit freaked out there for a second. So messaging app, messages. We'll talk more about messages later, because there's some cool things like changes to groups and app mentions and things, and you can pin messages to the top if you've got frequently messaged people, which I know is handy for folks who are in touch with people a lot. And then app clips. So again, I don't know that these are going to be really useful for creators. These are more for when you're going and maybe paying for your parking, or you're going and you're using, you know how sometimes you have to download an app to do something? Well, app clips are going to be like little applets, little widgets that you just download. And then instead of getting the full version, it's just going to bang, download it real quick. You pay for your parking, you buy your coffee, you do whatever, and then you move on with your life. So that is what we have in iOS. Let's move on to iPad OS, shall we? Now, this one made me laugh. So, write in any text field with Scribble. Now, if you are an Apple historian, or at least a part-time one like me, you'd remember the Apple Newton. If you're a Simpsons fan, you'll remember the Apple Newton, because that was the one where they're like, hey, put a memo in your Newton, and it's beat up Martin, pops up, eat up Martha. So as soon as I saw that Scribble was going to have handwriting recognition and handwriting to text conversion, I thought, yeah, okay, we're going down the Newton route again. So we will see. I'm sure they've got all their machine learning and all their things in there now that are going to make it much, much better. But yes, you can now write text with Scribble, and it's got other cool things around manipulation of shapes and things that it showed in there. So you can check that out in the keynote if you want to learn more. Copy and paste, yeah, as we mentioned, your handwritten notes as text, which could kind of be handy. I write notes for these shows, but I normally use the keyboard. Would I move to writing notes for my shows using the key? I don't know, maybe. We'll see. Access more app functions in a single view. So they've changed up for things like photos, and interestingly, they mentioned the Files app too. So the Files app gets this new sidebar that could actually have a lot better functionality. I haven't seen it in detail, got to dive in and take a look, but having that sidebar with more details is going to be cool for things like apps and for things like files when you're jumping around managing your files, and a whole bunch more features. Enjoy the great iOS 14 features. So yeah, iPad OS basically gets everything you get with iOS 14, and then those extra additional features as well. So that is what you get. What's happened in the world of Mac? Well, I'm glad you asked. The Mac experience you love, elevated with a whole new design. And what is that whole new design? iOS. in a nutshell. So the Mac OS and the new Mac OS version, which is called Big Sur, because Apple, and it's Big Sur, S-U-R, not Big Sur, yes sir, Big Sur, which I think, now do they name them? I'm showing my ignorance here. Are they named after cities in California? I think it's something like that. We had Catalina, we had, I don't know, let me know. But I think, yeah, Big Sur is the name of the Mac. And yeah, the new design there, as you can see, you got notifications similar to iOS. You got a control center with brightness and volume similar to iOS. You've got the ability to, well, in the future, run iOS apps. More on that in the deep dive. But yeah, there you go. That's a tease. We'll continue on down here. New rebuilt Safari. From homepage to privacy. Now, privacy was probably the key word. Privacy and security, along with machine learning, were the key words that I heard. I think if I was playing keyword bingo, I've won. I had about 37 mentions of privacy and security. So clearly, Apple are playing the privacy game at the moment, which is absolutely understandable because that's what people are definitely concerned about. So, yes, a rebuilt Safari on the homepage there. Effortless new ways to connect and express yourself again using messaging features very reminiscent of the iPhone and the iPad because it's built around the iOS kind of infrastructure there. And curated guides to help you get around like a local. So the maps stuff actually looks okay. Let me know in the chat or in the comments here if you use Google Maps or Apple Maps. I'm a Google Maps user from way back, so I still use Google Maps on my iPhone. But some of the stuff I saw with the Apple Maps, they've got the walking directions and the cycling. Cycling got a big upgrade in this one as well, so that could help out as well. I know though, you're saying, Pete, what about creators? Are we getting anything to do with this for Mac? I couldn't really see anything from a creator perspective that's going to help you out. I guess the only benefit here is that if you're an iOS creator and you use a Mac, you're getting a little bit of a familiarity. So for someone like me who doesn't currently use a Mac, maybe that's a good thing. So maybe when I do finally take the plunge and buy a new Mac, then I'll actually have something familiar that I can actually go to. Let's come on down. I'm not going to spend much time on these because let's be honest, creators, we may wear watches. I wear a Fitbit. I don't even use an Apple Watch, but it doesn't really have a lot to do. Even though there's those prank ones, which is like logic on your watch, which I know a lot of people laughed at. And then I thought, don't dismiss it. They could have a DAW on your watch. I would love a watch that had the ability to record because you could have a little mini USB jack in there, plug in your interface and record to your watch. How cool. Anyway, getting off track. But yeah, they got new faces. You got new sleep apps, so you can sleep track with that. You've got new workouts, and there's a whole new kind of, there's a hand washing feature. This is the world we live in now. The Apple Watch can now detect your hand washing. So yeah, it will legitimately, it actually said, it uses the audio to listen for the sounds of soap and suds being like rubbed on your hands. I'm like, that could detect all sorts of sounds. Anyway, that is it. So they are the 4 different operating systems. And what we have here as we scroll back on up, as I mentioned, we'll be taking a deep dive into the iOS and the Mac stuff in particular and giving you some of my views on that in the next section. But let's just jump to my notes and go through. So what do we have here? Well, privacy is the big focus, security, machine learning. A lot of the stuff that they've been pushing is going on device. So that's a cool thing for me. So some of the language translation stuff, you're going to be able to download that translation. Siri, a lot of Siri stuff's going to be on your device. So that means less needing to access internet and things like that, which is cool. From an iOS perspective, the app library I think I'll use because I have a messy app set up on all my devices at the moment, so that's pretty cool. Other things we didn't talk about, picture-in-picture is coming. So again, for creators, that's pretty cool. So if you're watching a video or a tutorial, you can actually have the video up there. Well, okay. With Apple native apps, so Apple TV apps, it showed it. It didn't show it with YouTube yet, but you'd have to imagine they do something like that. So that'd be cool, having the ability to have picture-in-picture if you're watching a YouTube tutorial and trying to use something on your iPhone or iPad. That's going to be pretty cool. And then all those Siri and message and maps changes. There was CarPlay. There's a new BMW that you start with your iPhone. What could possibly go wrong with that? And then the app clips that you have as well, which will be pretty cool. iPad OS, the sidebar looks pretty good for files and for music. So I think having that access to that sidebar could be pretty cool. The one thing that they didn't mention there is the search functionality. They've got the new unified search, or what do they call it? I can't remember what they're called. Basically Spotlight. Think Spotlight on a Mac, but you get that on your iPad. So now your search searches within apps, it searches the internet, it searches your own thing. It just finds everything in the world. The Apple Pencil, we talked about the scribble stuff there as well. What didn't we hear? What didn't come out? Well, We didn't get the AirPod Studio. We did get an upgrade to the AirPod Pro. They're going to get some cool new 3D spatial sound that tracks your head movements and tracks your phone and iPad movements and lines it all up so you can watch cinema quality movies with cinema quality sound on your iPad. Not something for me, but interesting. And again, for creators and for musicians, maybe if you're doing some 5.1 stuff, you're doing some sound design for movies, and you want to just preview what they're going to sound like in sort of an Atmos setup or a 5.1 or a 7.1 sound, then maybe if you've got the AirPod Pro, that could be kind of cool for you. And we didn't see the changes to the apps. So there was a lot of speculation that things like, well, okay, we didn't, but we kind of did. I'll explain in a minute. There was a lot of speculation that things like Final Cut Pro, like Logic Pro, would be coming to iPad OS. Now that wasn't specifically mentioned, but the final thing I'm going to talk about in the short version here did kind of allude to this, and this is interesting. So the big change that's not related to the software but is hardware is that Mac is now going to a new processor, the Silicon processors they're calling. They're leaving Intel behind and they're going to these new Silicon processors, which are basically the A12Z, or Z chip that they're using in the iPhone 12 and iPad Pro. So what this is going to mean in the future is that your new generations of Macs are basically going to be running on the same architecture as your iPhone and your iPad. So yes, this is that unifying of all of the different platforms that we're seeing. So whilst we've now still got all these separate apps, you got Home OS, you got TV, you got Watch, you got iOS, you got iPad OS, you got Mac OS, they're getting more similar. So the infrastructure and bringing the Mac back onto the chip that is going to be the same type of chip that's all made in-house gives Apple the ability to have these unified apps in the future. So what they showed in the preview, in the keynote, is that they were running things like Word and PowerPoint and Excel. They were running, not Premiere, they were running their own Final, they wouldn't run Premiere, they were running Final Cut, and they were running Photoshop right there. And then what they did is they showed some iPhone and iPad apps. So yeah, some iOS apps running right on a Mac. So, the logical thing there is as soon as you can go from there to there, yep, you can go from there to there. So this is pretty exciting because it's going to mean that developers, if they're developing apps, they're going to be able to develop those apps and they're going to be cross-platform and be able to be used on the two different platforms. So that's all pretty cool. So what do you think? Let me know if you're watching on the replay. Drop a comment. Are you overwhelmed, underwhelmed, somewhere in between? I'd love to get your feedback on this. And if you're here live, then drop a note. Oh, the when. That's probably the last thing we should cover. So there's no specific dates. The developer version of iOS and iPad OS is available today, but the actual release, they said July. And then for a lot of the Mac stuff, the new Macs are coming, they said, by the end of the year. But there's some new Intel Macs they'll be releasing before then for some reason. I don't know why you'd buy a new Intel Mac now with a new Mac with a brand new architecture coming out. That's a bit strange. And yeah, there's no other hardware releases. So we'll be waiting at least till the next month, probably the end of the month if I was a betting man, before we'll see the new iOS and the new iPad OS. And if you're really hanging out for that new Mac with the new silicon, yeah, you'll probably be looking around. If they say end of the year, probably be November, December, ready for the Christmas shopping season would be my bet. We'll get some nice new iPads, probably released in their September release or announced in their September announcement and then available towards the end of the year. Would be my guess on that one. Thank you to those folks who are here live. We've got a lot of folks having a lot of chat, and a lot of things going on here. So we'll jump back over to that. We'll see. Voice memos. There you go. So GarageBand Guide. Hello to you, Patrick. Voice memos on WatchOS. That'd be kind of cool. In fact, the Voice Memos app did get an upgrade, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Cody Brady says, I use Google Maps today. Big Sur is the mountains. There you go. I didn't know that. Showing my ignorance. Yeah, I thought it was a California thing. Thanks to my California friends who are correcting me on that stuff. Appreciate you. Very cool. We will move on here. Once again, if you've got comments or if you've got things that you want to chat about, yes, we will have a bit of a chat and a bit of a Q&A section. But what I thought I'd do now is jump in and give a little bit more information about some of the other things. So we'll return to apple.com because it's the easiest way to cover everything. I had all these notes written and then I'm like, oh, Apple have done my work for me because each one of these sections has its own little preview here. So we can come in here and we can tap see the preview and it's going to take us on over. And here it is. Oh, look at those Apple animations, so slick and smooth. I love that every time they had an animation, they're like, and look how smooth that is. I'm like, it's 2020. If animations are clunky in like 3 frames a second, I'd be a little bit worried about that. Anyway, so here we go. Here's iOS 14. That's what it looks like. Brand new feel. Yep, that's what you can have a look. Coming this fall. Is this fall? This fall. There you go. Which is I got to do the conversions around in my head. So fall is autumn, which is my spring. Okay, so maybe it'll be a bit later than July that they were talking about. We'll find out. So here you go. We've got the experience. You've got the widgets that we've talked about on the home screen there, and they've been totally redesigned so that you can do all sorts of different things. I think Jade said that there is already a world clock widget, which I should have already known. Oh well. Excuse me. You can also add a smart stack of widgets intelligently curated. Oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, you can give Apple control, and then they'll give you some curated apps based on what time of the day it is. So the morning it'll tell you your schedule, the afternoon it'll tell you, I don't know, play some music for you, and the end of the day it'll tell you to go to bed and make sure you wear your Apple Watch with WatchOS so that you can track your sleep. The app library, which we talked about as well. I'm definitely going to be using this. Let's see what apps have they got there. So you got entertainment there with all your Disney and your Hulu. Recently added social, apps arcade, creativity. Yeah, so that could be kind of cool. I don't know what it will group all of my different music apps as. It probably won't go free plugins, AUV3 plugins. Yeah, no, it's probably not going to be that smart. But you never know. We'll see. We've got, this is the other thing on your phone, you get the little compact call. So instead of, when you're in the middle of something and a phone call comes up and it just takes over the whole screen. Yeah, that's gone. So we've now got these little compact call things, which I actually am looking forward to. That actually annoys me because I hate being interrupted. I've usually got myself on Do Not Disturb anyway if people try to call me. But yeah, I hate that whole thing where you're doing something. And sometimes I accidentally answer a call because I'm like replying to a YouTube comment on my phone and then I go boop and I'm like, oh crud, I don't want to talk to you. Like, oops, sorry, you're cutting out. No, not really. I'm not that much of it. Anyway, so you've got compact calls, picture in picture. So I talked about this before. This could be cool. As long as this works with any video playback app, I'll be very happy. I'll be super frustrated if this only works with like playing your own videos or playing Apple TV or Apple movies or things. If it uses that for YouTube, for even, I don't know, Instagram and Facebook video, maybe. I don't know. YouTube is going to be the killer app for me because not only will it help me, but it will help you. Imagine if you're watching this right now and you're like, oh, I just want to scroll over to a Safari on my iPad and check out what Pete's looking at. Then you could do that without it interrupting your playback. That would be super cool. Messages we've talked about. So we've got pinned conversations there. You can pin the people you like the best at the top. Reminds me of MySpace. You get your top 8 spaces. Yeah, you got your top 9 message spaces now. So people you like get to go up the top there. Group photos. So you can do all sorts of group conversation things. Inline replies and app mentions. So if you use these sort of features for group chats for iMessage, then that's going to be kind of cool. Because if you've ever been in a big long iMessage conversation and you're like, oh, did anyone mention anything I really have to pay attention to in that? Well, now they can at mention you and harass you until you actually reply. So that could be kind of cool. I won't even talk about Memoji. If you like Memoji, go your hardest, it's fun. Maps we talked about. So yeah, we got some changes there for cycling. We got electric vehicle routing if you're an electric vehicle user and owner. I don't even know what guides are. Translate. So this is pretty cool. I like the on-device mode for translations because I know many members of the Studio Live Today community and parts of other Facebook groups and things that I'm part of, there's a lot of people that English isn't your first language, and anything that improves the ability to communicate and translate directly on your app has got to be a good thing. Now, it's not like we'll be face-to-face anytime soon or I'll be visiting any other countries, but this is going to be kind of cool. And having on-device mode, so if you ever use Siri and it's like, something went wrong, I can't connect to the internet right now, yeah, that's frustrating as hell, get out. So this will actually help with that because it'll store that on your device. You'll be able to download the translation dictionaries and have them ready to go. Other things there, favorites, attention mode. Siri also has compact mode. That's about all I'll say about that, and that on-device stuff. Apparently, more things will happen. The Siri interface has been redesigned. More stuff's going to happen just on your phone, which is a good thing there. I don't even know. Or send audio messages. There you go. I thought you could already do that. When you want to be more expressive, send audio messages with Siri. Oh, okay. Siri audio message. That could be kind of cool. I could say, I won't say the words because I know all your devices will jump up, but you can say, hey, Blargle, please send a message and have it say, I'm on my way from misery to happiness today, but don't go havering. And then that will go through as an audio message. That could be cool. I'll let you play around with the home function. The only thing that's relevant there for creators is if people are using the home function to listen to your music, I guess that's good. The more automation they have where they can just tell their devices to play your music and to stream you on their various platforms, then the better. The one thing I didn't mention in iOS, because it's buried in the weeds, is that you do have the ability to change your default apps. Now, it said for email and for maps, but it didn't say your default apps for music. So I need to dive in and specifically find out if you can change your default music app, because that would be cool, because my default music app is Google Play. It's not Apple Music or Spotify. You can set your lightings. You can do other things. Safari, we've talked about the translation that is built in now, and it tells us it's the world's fastest mobile browser with a little number 6 there telling us all the reasons why it maybe isn't. We've got, so we've got a bunch of security stuff there, password monitoring, telling you if your password's not secure. So there's lots of stuff to do with privacy, which is important. And you can, again, go through and read that in your own time, because it's not something that I think we need to talk about here. But the more that they're doing for privacy, whether it's through their own devices or other things, then just in a comment here, WWDC is a bragging day. And that's why I thought I'd do this, is that rather than you have to watch 2 hours, you can watch 45 minutes with me here, and I'll give you everything without the hype, with just the facts. Just the facts, folks. Just scrolling through here. This is the car stuff. If you want to buy a new BMW 5 Series, if you've got a spare 50 to 100K lying around, then go and buy yourself a BMW 5 Series, and you can open it with your iPhone. And CarPlay's got a few little updates. AirPods, now this is what I was talking about before. This might be interesting, because if you've got some AirPods, especially the Pro ones, you get this spatial audio. And yes, it does that. Little aliens and UFOs come and surround your head wherever you go, so that you can listen to your audio. New battery notifications for your AirPods are there too. Automatic switching, which I think sounds terrifying. Can you imagine, like, you're just walking from room to room and it's like, no, you want to listen to your iPod audio now. Now you want to listen to your iPad audio. No, now you want to listen to your Mac audio. I'm like, nah, I don't think I would be enabling that function if I was using that. If I was using the AirPods, because anything that switches, anyone who's ever accidentally played their audio through a Bluetooth speaker and it was potentially something inappropriate, you know what I'm saying here. No, you want complete control over where your audio is playing and what it's playing to. What else have we got there? Nah, not much else. Audio sharing for Apple TV. Lovely. App clips. So these are these little applets, these little tiny applets that you can actually add in to your phone. So if you're going, like I mentioned, if you're going to buy a coffee, you're going to park your car, you can download just a little mini version of an app. It just gets the job done, and then you can download the full version later if you want to. They look kind of useful and handy. There have been times where I've thought, I don't really want to have to download a whole app just to buy an ice cream. Now maybe I could just buy the ice creamlet. I can buy the Haagen-Dazs applet, and then I can buy my ice cream in peace. A lot about privacy there, privacy in the App Store. This is actually interesting, the recording indicator, which we already know about, but it will tell you when your mic or your camera is being used. So that is a good thing for privacy. I do like that one, because you never want to have your microphone on when you don't know about it. And the whole Apple sign-in ID thing is there too. And so much more. But wait, there's more. So yeah, there's a bunch more stuff that you can explore there. And this is the bottom section where I think this is where I found the default apps. There you go. Set default email and browser apps with. You can set third-party apps as a default email or browser app system-wide. So it does only say email or browser. And this is the interesting one I thought for creators. So we were joking about voice memos before, but yeah, the most popular audio recording app in the world gets new tools for organizing recordings. So yeah, no longer is it my recording 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hopefully it'll give you a bit better way to do that. All new enhanced recording lets you improve the sound quality of your recordings with a single tap. Has Apple invested in some sort of noise reduction engine? They've been talking to our friends at Clevgran. Maybe they've got their hands on the Bruce-free engine, and they're going to add that to voice memos. I don't know. I'll be intrigued to see that, because as someone who I do use music memos a lot, but voice memos, for some reason, I just have it and I often just turn it on and record with that because it's just simple, easy, just the audio. So that's what I want to. I'm just as we're going through here. Patrick from the GarageBand Guide, they called Microsoft old friends. They sure did. That was really funny. So there was a little bit where they're like, because I was showing Microsoft Office on the Mac, which is a good segue. We'll get to that in a moment. And they said, yeah, our good friends over at Microsoft have already got Microsoft Office ready to run on our new hardware. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, friends. Let's all be friends. Here's the good news. This one is one that you'll want to know because iOS 14 will be compatible with every device that's currently compatible with iOS 13. So this is good news if you've got something like the iPhone 6S with the old headphone jack that you're still rocking, or you've got the old iPhone SE. But everything from there right up to there is going to be working with your iOS 14. So that's very, very cool. Lots of good stuff there in iOS 14. How would it rate on the meh scale from awesome down to terrible? Well, it's meh. It's right in the middle there, isn't it? That's my view anyway. There's some cool new features there for creators though. Do we get much? Is there much there that makes me write home about? Not particularly. Let's go back and take a look at the next section. Where are we? We're still here in iOS. We need to come down to iPadOS and look at the preview of this one. So we'll jump in here. What are we? We're at about the 30-minute mark. So we've got about 10 more minutes here, and then we'll jump into any Q&A and a little bit more conversation about these. So here's iPadOS. That's what it looks like. I think we've covered most of this, so these ones will be a bit quicker. Coming this fall, iPadOS. There's the experience. We've got the same redesigned widgets. We've got those new app designs. So we've got the ability to have those sidebars for things like photos and files, which looks like they're going to be cool. You can see the files version down there on the bottom left. So that should be pretty cool to have better file management. And that search. So search is now going to be everything. And it's saying things like it can search within your apps and like within your notes and within what you've got in there. So that could be kind of cool. Faster, more relevant results, it reckons. Still got the compact calls. Don't know who's getting phone calls on your iPad, although I suppose Skype calls and the like. People might be taking them on their iPads. And then you can learn all about Scribble. And the one thing that I think is pretty cool is you can actually convert it right in a search bar or right in a text field. So I'm like, yeah, if you're adding something and you wanted to just write something down, maybe that would be cool. Yep. Eat up Martha for the win. You can circle things to select them. There's a bunch of new commands in there with the new Scribble. A bunch of stuff about notes and handwriting, but again, this is for creators, so it might be handy for you to jump in and have a look at that if you use an Apple Pencil and if you use it to like write lyrics or write out song ideas or do things. That could be very cool for you. Augmented reality, we didn't really talk about, but there's always updates to AR. You can look at that in your own time. And then messages as well. Yep, we've got all the same stuff. Maps, all the same stuff. This is going to be quick because it really did repeat itself. So luckily they didn't go through all of the same features for both iOS and iPadOS, but they definitely went through some of them. Safari, you can see there, same sort of thing. Privacy, same password thing. AirPods, same thing. So they're basically just regurgitating that because, let's be honest, the iPadOS is almost identical to the iOS. So everything there is quite the same. There's not much else apart from the new Scribble, those new sidebars. They're definitely the main changes there. So we'll go back from that one and we'll continue on because we have to take a look at Mac OS. So as we discovered there before, the Mac experience you love elevated with a whole new design. Or if I was to de-hype that speak, Mac OS, it looks a bit more like your iPhone now. Copyright, Pete Johns, 2020. Let's see the preview, see what's going on here. Righty dokie. This is a Mac, and this is what it looks like. Like I say, it's looking more and more like an iPad every day. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's obviously an interface that's working and that people like and want to use. So Mac OS Big Sur, doing it all in all new ways. So there you go, coming this fall. Bold new experience, same Mac magic. Is this what we've already looked at? Oh no, there we go. I just need to make sure I'm in the right section. Did I actually go to the next section? Yeah, I did. That's all right. Yep, so there you go. There's a film you can watch about it. Not a video, a film. Film, you see. So streamlined apps, so from full height sidebars to refresh toolbars, a clean app design that looks very much like your iOS apps. A refreshed dock that you've got down there, a sleek design, makes getting to your favorite apps even easier. and looking more like an iPad. Oh, we got a full screen. What are we doing? Oh, we're going over to the other side here now. I've missed one. Control center for Mac, because we want it to be more like an iPhone. We've got, sorry, I know I'm sounding bad here because I don't use a Mac now. It's sounding like I'm actually trying to poo-poo them, but no, not at all. But yeah, it definitely it does have a different kind of design here. Notification center, new design combines notifications and widgets in a single view. So there you go. You've got your notifications there. You've got your widgets. You got everything ready to go, which actually looks like it would be handy. As a Windows user, I have always been jealous of the notifications and the way you can actually swap between things on a Mac. It definitely is a lot slicker and a lot cleaner than what we have in Windows 10 here. All new Safari is Love at First Sight, which is very similar again to the Safari version that they have on iOS. I know. Safari extensions. Oh, Safari extension in the App Store. I didn't see that. Improved tab design that you got going on there. The same sort of translation and password monitoring. So you can see here what I'm talking about, that they're able to now just say similar things for all of their different platforms. Improve power efficiency, improve performance. They're always good things. So you want to be able to have your machines running longer again, especially if you're a creator, you're a mobile creator, you got your MacBook on the go. That's got to be a good thing, doesn't it? Messages on Mac. So, yep, you got your messages app in there doing the same sort of thing with the same pinned conversations and inline replies and group photos and mentions. So, yeah, whoever had to do the designing just went, this is gold. I only have to write the same thing like once, and it's all good. We've got just trending images and GIFs and instantly add them to any message, etc., etc. So, we've got a bunch of stuff going on there. And yeah, a lot of it's very, very similar across platform, which basically is a good thing because it means that we are going to finally have some sort of universality. Is that even a word? In what we're using there. So there you go. You can go again to apple.com and you can find out all of this for yourself. Watch the keynote if you've got 2 hours to spare, but I promise you, we've covered all of the major stuff here. But to make sure that we have covered all the major stuff, I thought we would have a bit of a chat with you folks here, but to help me do that and to help me moderate that, I've got a special guest here to help me do that. I just need to make a quick adjustment to my audio so we don't get a whole echoing going on here. So I'll just pop that there. And can I welcome to Studio Live today, the wonderful Jade Star. How are you doing? Oh, you're doing well?
Good.
What? I don't have your audio.
I've got audio.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
I'm doing good. I'm
You
tired.
got audio. That was such a great intro.
Tired.
You're tired. Yes. So I'm assuming you haven't been to bed. Unlike me, you just stayed up and watched the whole keynote.
Well, I was actually up all night working on a little program for OBS to make the StreamYard comments that we don't have in OBS. So that's what kept me up all night, and I just happened to be awake to watch it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now I pulled you in here because you're chatting about these changes in just a few moments, aren't you? And you've got your own show coming up today. Your How to App series. You're talking all about this stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I'm going to talk about what they didn't announce because there's a hell of a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, and that's more interesting. So let's get your rating on the meh scale. Are you excited, somewhat excited, meh, disappointed, or very disappointed? What's your overall take on these announcements?
I don't know. I expected. I think I said to you early this morning. Last year we had a big chat one night on Messenger, and I said we were heading this way to the combining of iOS and Mac OS. And a lot of my friends were like, that's never going to happen. That was in about April last year. And we're definitely heading down that way. At least the death of the Mac Air. Look, there were a lot of things that were long overdue. Widgets bore me to crap. I'm really into the new chips. The new chips are going to take the Macs into the next generation, and they're going to be awesome because Intel's really slowing down. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it will be interesting to have that. We've got some advice here from the GarageBand guide. You got to listen to Patrick. So don't buy a new Mac till these bad boys come out. I'm old enough to remember the PowerPC to Intel transition. PowerPC users got left behind fast. Yeah, I think that's a very good bit of advice.
And I'll tell you what, the general consensus from message boards and stuff that I've checked quickly is the hottest thing that was announced is actually something that's not available to the public. And
Cool.
that's the Mac Mini Developers Kit, which
Yeah,
has the latest chip from the iPad Pro. It's got 500 gigabyte hard drive, 16
yeah.
gigs of RAM. It's sick. And it's
Mm.
$500 for developers. That's the best thing.
That is cool. Yeah. Well, when I mentioned before, there was no hardware announcement. That was literally the only sort of hardware related announcement we had of anything, wasn't it? Was that developers can get their hand on this developer kit, which is going to be cool because if they're going to be able to start developing apps, and I think the most exciting thing I saw was literally when they had the Mac there and they started running iOS. I don't know, it's because I was an iOS guy, but when the guy was playing that crappy little iPhone game on his Mac, and I'm just like, oh, there you go. So here we were speculating that Logic was going to come to iOS, but what actually happened was that iOS apps may be coming to Mac. So what do we think there? Are we still going to have the Logics and the Final Cuts as iOS apps, or are they just going to develop on this new silicon and then just be able to switch them straight across?
Well, that's what I was getting at the beginning of this when I popped in. The big takeaway from this is that they didn't announce Logic and they didn't announce Final Cut Pro, but they're definitely coming out. So those over-the-ear headphones. And the reason why this is a thing is because they released the Magic Keyboard without much fanfare, and that was really to get people used to the iPad Pro being a computer. That's definitely on the cards. And they're saving a few things for the iPhone launch. They really don't have much to launch for the iPhone. So holding on to those is a very wise move. We're definitely getting them. That backwards compatibility, being able to put iOS apps on Mac, means they're going to be able to put Mac apps on iPad Pros. That's the takeaway.
That is the takeaway. I did joke. I joked with you that it'll help collaboration because I don't know how Mac users feel about this, but they'll be able to run a GarageBand iOS on their Macs, and then everyone will be able to collaborate because you'll be able to have the same files on both sides.
We both said too before you close that off. The sound issue is going to be I want to know how they're going to do that because the sound having multiple channels in Macs is still crap. It's still really bad. So how's that going to work with iOS apps? That's going to be very interesting. Are the new chips going to open up the sound issues that Macs have with onboard sound?
Can you run Audio Bus or AUM and do all your fancy switching between your apps? That's going to be a challenge, isn't it? So let me go through my notes because I did take a bunch of notes while I was watching and drinking my coffee at 3:00 this morning. So I think we've covered everything. We've got iOS, iPad OS. We mentioned the AirPods. So yeah, we were going to get the AirPods Studio, and they're clearly coming. The glyphs are in there, so that means we're going to get Bluetooth. And again, as I said, I think I ranted on this yesterday, but Bluetooth for audio production is basically just a non-starter. So it doesn't matter how good your studio headphones are if they're Bluetooth. The amount of people that email me and they're like, "Oh, I can't get my audio to sync. I got a pair of Beats by Dre, and I'm listening, and it's like a second later, and I'm like." Yep, it's never going to be better. I'm sorry.
They're just Beats with a replaced Apple logo for the 3-year transition. That's all they really are,
True. What else have we got here? I'm trying to work out.
Can I bring up? There's a couple of things which I've just absolutely horrified by. The widgets, I reckon they're bollocks, rubbish. The new search feature is what the hell? It just pops up in the middle, sitting over all your screen in the background. Just cluttered. The putting picture in picture makes the phone cluttered, just pointless. And that's the thing that jailbreakers do, just to clutter up their phones, just to say they can do it. And the final thing, that app tray at the back, nobody's going to use it. I'll bet in about 2 years they get rid of it. They've done it so many times before with stuff like that.
Yeah, not impressed by because basically you've just named the 4 key iOS features. It just says that they're all useless. So there you go. I should have had you on at the start. We could have done this in 5 minutes. Just like no. All right,
they've got a track record of Apple of releasing these little things which they think is great, and 2 years later, 3 years later, they're gone, and they try and sweep it under the carpet for all the great stuff that they do.
Well, exactly. For all the, I don't know, and I know I was having a bit of a tease and about the fact that they're the hype machine, but you know what? That's their job. Like they have to. They're not going to
Yeah.
get up there and say, "Oh, this is just the thing we did. It's okay. You might like it." So yes, I completely understand they need to hype it, but I also understand that we need to come and slightly make fun of their hype because it's a little bit too razzle dazzle for my taste sometimes.
Well, Craig Federighi was on point as usual. Didn't tell as many jokes. It kind of looked. The whole presentation was funny. So many green screens. It was.
It was.
It was quite funny. It was.
I like there was one bit. If you watch anything, watch the bit where they talk to the developers of the actual chip, because I find that stuff interesting as well. But he said something weird, like he said, "We're going to our secret underground lair. We normally name these by taking a bunch of drugs and then doing some things." I'm like, what are they talking about here? It was just went really bizarre for about 5 minutes, and then they got back on track. And I'm like, this wouldn't have happened in Steve's day. This tomfoolery wouldn't have been tolerated. But
you know what, Pete? You're going to read this too. You're going to read a lot of idiots coming out of the woodwork going, Steve wouldn't have done this. Steve wouldn't have done this. This stuff is still the trailing off of Steve Jobs. Like that guy didn't die and just leave a 5-year plan. This was always going to happen. They were always going to move the iPad to a combination of Mac or whatever it turns out to be, a hybrid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, everything's looking very similar. I think that's the big takeaway. I've put my notes here, and it's like privacy is clearly a big focus because they mention the word secure and security and privacy and things about 14,000 times. That the whole on-device thing. So people are obviously freaking out about all this stuff. Yeah, going into the cloud. That's got to be a good thing. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, look, they have to do that for the US. That's where why they're really pushing that. Because remember, we got the latest iOS micro update. What was it? 0.1 update, and that was basically more for America because Apple's backing the whole COVID-19 tracing thing. So then that's hooked up to the government and everything. So Apple's got to cover their ass big time for all of that. So that's the main reason for the privacy that they're punching that through.
Yep. So cool. And you've already said, you've already pooped on the app library, the widgets, and the picture-in-picture. So not a fan of any of that stuff. I'm basically scrolling through here to try and find something that gives me a rating of more than just a meh. But look, it's going to be better. Like I think anytime they upgrade the iOS, it has its teething problems. What do you think? What's your advice for a creator? This is probably what a lot of folks are asking for in terms of updating to your new OS. Do you do it instantly? I mean, you're an early adopter, so do you just update the second it comes out and just deal with the bugs?
Yep. I will probably wait about. I'll update all my because I have 6 devices, so I'll update all of them except my iPad Pro, and I'll wait normally 2 days for that. And check all the music forums first, all the creator forums like Audio Bus and all that, and if they give it the go ahead, I'll go for it. But
make sure that nothing dies beforehand.
Yeah, like iOS 11, that was like so much died. Or my Oreo Pro died for 3 months because of that. It's horrible.
Oh, yeah. All righty. Any final? I know you've got to go and get yourself prepared because you've got a show now. For folks that don't know, you do your How to App show every weekday, or week morning for us. I know it's the week afternoon or evening for folks in the US and Europe and the UK. What's on the agenda for this week? You're talking this today. What's happening the rest of the week?
The rest of the week's on workflows, little micro workflows between apps like file apps, things you save apps from, save files from, can pass them around. Just those little micro things that are annoying and you probably don't know about. So that's all it is, because I'm warming up for the next 2 following weeks, which are going to be guitars and vocals.
That's what I know folks are waiting for. But yes, if you haven't checked out the How to App series, check that out. You're going to be live in 10 minutes time, so you don't even have to hang around. So I'll do my final closing ranting here. I'll let Jade jump off and go and get herself set up for How to App. So jump over there in 10 minutes and check that one out. Thank you for being here, Jade. Always a pleasure to have you here on the channel.
Bye.
I love talking to Jade. She just brings it back to earth. So here I am saying, here's all these cool new features. Here we go. We got iOS. We got the widgets. We got the work. Don't want any of those. Love it. Rightio. So we are going to finish up in a minute here. If you are just joining us, we've been talking about WWDC, which still sounds like a wrestling thing to me, but it's the Worldwide Developer Conference. It's Apple's big keynote address that they do this time every year. They did a virtual version of it this year, which meant that we could all watch the keynote online, although we can all watch the keynote online anyway. But the whole conference will be streamed online over the next week. So if you are into your development stuff, if you do want to learn a little bit more about the behind the scenes of what's going on with Apple and what they're doing, then then you can actually check that out. So obviously go to apple.com to find out all of the things you can do and all the ways you can do there. I'll just see if anyone has any final comments. We've got about another 5 minutes to go here. If you have final things to say, final comments, final statements, then please throw them now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. The general consensus seems to be that there's nothing here that's terrible. There's nothing here that's amazing. It's all kind of just down the middle, which is okay. I was talking about the BMW before. So Dr. Bobo says, no, I don't want to buy a BMW. And Langston says, BMW 5 Series car? Yeah, so no, Apple aren't making their own car, not yet anyway, but the BMW 5 Series, the new one, is going to have Apple Key. So yeah, you're going to be able to open your car with your phone, which is going to be pretty cool. Let's have a look. We got anything else? Nope. I'm just seeing if you've got any other final comments here. Again, I think the very fact that we don't have a lot of folks saying much is basically that it's a bit of an underwhelming thing. I do like that developer transition kit, as Jay was mentioning there. So if you are a developer, you're going to be able to get your hands on that and then do a bunch of cool things and learn about the new thing. So the GarageBand guide, Patrick says, kind of like WWDC 2018, a bit meh. Yeah, I think it's definitely meh. Apple iCar is coming soon. Hey, never dismiss it. When it comes to Apple, never dismiss it, Tom. You never actually know. All righty. Let's finish off there because I think we're all good. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me live here on Studio Live today. Once again, head over to Jade Starr's channel because she's going to be talking more about this in 10 minutes time from now, less than that now. But if you don't know what goes on here on the channel, and if it's your first time watching here, head over to studiolivetoday.com. That's the best place to find out all the things that are happening over there. I've got links to my gear guide. I've got links to all of the videos. We've got over 1,000 videos here on the channel, and we talk about GarageBand, mobile producing, home studio recording, and a whole bunch of other things as well. You can also check me out over on Patreon, patreon.com/PeteJohns. And I will be back again with another video tomorrow, a video every day here on Studio Live Today. You can set your clock to it. If only I didn't release them at different times every day. Anyway, thanks very much, folks, for being here. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you spent some time here learning what you didn't have to spend 2 hours watching a video to learn about. Have a great day, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Keep creating, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.